back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with episode 10. That's right, episode 10 of the See You Next Tuesday series. This is where we open up the door to the vault of horrors from Newcastle United's past. We may be enjoying the present and the future looks really bright, but my God, we've had a rocky road to get here. It's littered with people so frightening it would give Freddie and Jason nightmares. So next time you see anyone from TalkSport or so forth giving you shit as a Newcastle fan for celebrating the good times, you just point them this way and make them watch some of the absolutely lifting people we've had involved with this football club in the past. So who is the latest inductee? I hear you ask. Who has got the number 10 spot in the See You Next Tuesday? Well, they don't rank number 10. They probably rank a bit higher than that. But I'm back to talking about managers. And honestly, when we started doing this, it's so depressing to think of how shit some of the managers have been at this football club. It's like that wheel of misfortune you just spin around with faces of pure mediocrity. And they've all been Newcastle managers at some point. Bruce, Allardyce, Pardew, Carver, Kinnear. And then this guy also belongs on this list. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about a guy who's been ridiculed, a guy who's been a laughingstock, a guy who thinks he's great at a Dutch accent, and a guy who likes brollies. Yes, I'm talking about this fella right here, Steve McCLAREN, who was appointed Newcastle boss on the 10th of June 2015 and binned the 11th of March 2016. His win ratio with Newcastle United, get ready for this, was a grand 22.6%. Absolutely horrific. We were relegated under this prick. Rafa Benitez came in to try and mop up the shit that he'd left and came in a bit too late. And I must just go back and rewind a little bit for Steve McCLAREN, because we should have known the writing was on the wall when we got this bloke in. We really should have done. So he did well in Middlesbrough. He won Middlesbrough some kind of championship cup, I think, and then he got the final of a European competition. Obviously, he did well at Manchester United as a coach. Apparently, Steve McCLAREN is a very, very good coach, just not a very good manager. He took the England job, and despite being quite shit, he got a 50% win ratio. We got to remember, England half the time are playing Armenia and Albania and all these other people, these countries that aren't really footballers in all fairness, not really football nations. So it's quite easy to beat them. But he made a right fucking arse of it. He managed to not qualify for Euro 2008 with the golden generation. You're talking about Beckham, Rooney, Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, Ashley Cole, you name it. Probably one of the best England teams ever. And this guy managed to completely screw the pooch. So after that, he actually went over to Amsterdam to rebuild his career. And he actually won a title. He won an Eredivisie title with Twente. So people started to think maybe we were wrong about Steve McCLAREN, or Steve McCLAREN, as he did in a horrendous interview. That'll be on YouTube somewhere. Go and check that out, where he was trying to talk to the Dutch press. And he decided to throw a couple of Steves in there. Sound a little bit like the two coppers and Harry Enfield in the car, which was pretty embarrassing, really, Steve, or Steve, shall we say. But yeah, he did. He moved to Wolfsburg after that. A horrific win ratio at Wolfsburg, 29%. He was binned from there. He ended up at Nottingham Forest with another 23% win ratio. Then he went back to Twente, couldn't quite replicate the success he had. But he still had a 47% win ratio. Then he went to Derby, and he did all right with Derby. Nearly got them promoted with a 53% win ratio. And they actually played all right football. And that's where Newcastle United came calling for this bloke and decided he was going to be the man to take us forward. So he did get some players. He did get some players in that transfer market, and some very good players as well. One player in particular he did sign was Gini Wijnaldum, who hit the ground running. He was absolutely brilliant. Gini Wijnaldum scored something daft like 11 goals in his first 14 games or something. Invisible away from home, but brilliant at home. 4 against Norwich sticks out. He signed Alexander Mitrovic as well, who was a real hot striker. So he was given money by Ashley, which was a very strange thing. Ashley gave him money. Ashley backed him. And Ashley actually, thought he was going to do something. I think they actually believed this guy was going to turn the fortunes around of Newcastle United. But it just went from bad to worse, really. We just couldn't play together as a team. Sissoko, I think he signed Sissoko as well. Did he sign Sissoko? No, I think that was beforehand. I was possibly under Pardew. I think Sissoko came. Yes, I might got that one wrong. But he did sign some good players, no doubt about that. And then in January, he signed Townsend, and he signed Shelvey. So, we were hoping, I think the club were hoping, and the owners were hoping that he was going to do something to actually save us. But it just never came. Never came in the end. We couldn't play together. We were all over the place. Defensively, we were stinking. I mean, for somebody who's such a good coach, we leak goals like a sieve. The Titanic looked like a well-structured ship next to Newcastle under McCLAREN. We were absolutely terrible. I'm just looking at some of the stats there. So he signed a 3-year deal, this guy, when he came in. And then we had an option to extend his contract to 8 years, just like what Pardew had, which was scary. Graham Carr was there as well, chief scouts. I think Graham Carr did sign a few players, to be fair. Alan Carr's dad, which is random, but he is a football man. Bobby Moncur was made the club ambassador. In some eyes, some people are a bit lost a bit of respect for Bobby Moncur. Obviously lifted the last trophy that we lifted as the captain, because he was willing to work under the Ashley regime. Some people don't like that. But yeah, again, just looking at that 6-2 win against Norwich was probably the highlight of McClaren's reign. It was McClaren's first win in the Premier League. This is horrendous. This was McClaren's first win in the Premier League on the 18th of October after 8 matches without a win. He won his first Premier League game 6-2 against Norwich, which was where Gini Wijnaldum got 4 goals. And that was his first win in the Premier League since Middlesbrough beat West Ham in 2006. I mean, that is fucking abysmal. That's like 7 years later, and this man hasn't got a Premier League win. Absolutely horrendous. And then 6 days after, he got binned. He got binned actually because we got beat 3-1 by Bournemouth under Eddie Howe, funny enough, our current manager. And he got binned on the 11th of March 2016. And good riddance to bad rubbish. As I said, he was absolutely abysmal. Terrible manager, all over the place, didn't have a clue. Just looked lost, completely lost on the sideline. You saw that picture of him there. That was just him on a regular basis, completely and utterly lost. Couldn't figure out how to get this group of players to play. We had some really good individual players. There was little spells, I think, when, after he got sacked, Rafa managed to get the best out of Townsend. Townsend banged in a good few goals. Townsend was a very good player. Wijnaldum was a good player. We had Sissoko. We had Shelby there. Janmaat was there, a good player. And Cisse just couldn't quite get it working. Mitrovic as well couldn't quite get it working. For somebody who's such a good coach, he was just completely bereft of ideas, and it was really depressing. And for me, he definitely belongs on the See You Next Tuesday list because he made such a big noise about what he was going to do at Newcastle, and he spectacularly failed, and that makes you a See You Next Tuesday in my eyes. It really, really does. And the fact that we hung on to this guy for far too long gave Rafa Benitez next to no chance to mop up after this guy made an absolute, just complete disaster of his time at Newcastle. Now I'm just looking at his losses there. So in 31 games, he lost 18. I mean, that is appalling. How they didn't get rid of this guy 3 months before they did and get Rafa in, because I think that would have saved us, it would have kept us up, and who knows what would have happened. But then again, would we have been sold, would we have been taken over, and would we be where we are now? So who knows? But yeah, McCLAREN definitely belongs on this list. What a horror from the past he was, and let's hope we never end up with managers like this again. And under this new regime, I don't think we will. But this is the kind of thing you like. Please subscribe, click that button, come and join us. We're over 3,500 now. So Mark has to change that little graphic there. And loads of content and evermore. So we have the 2 live shows Mondays and Wednesdays until the season ends. And then we've got loads of pop-up videos just like this one you've watched to See You Next Tuesdays, which will continue through the close season. And like the video, help get it on YouTube, helps the channel grow. Until then, let's keep supporting that team. We'll coordinate. We'll be back to scare the life out of you with another horror of the past next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.